The Stone Lion. The stone lion that crouched outside the library looked so real, so fierce and cold that small children scuttled past at the sight of him. Some people, though, stopped to lean against the lion. One was a girl called Sarah. She would huddle next to him, cradling a tiny bundle. Her tears would fall like rain on his paws. "Why does she weep?" the lion asked the wise old gargoyle on the portico. The gargoyle knew everything because blackbirds, sparrows and pigeons perched on it and told it all the secrets of the city. "Sarah cries because she and her baby brother are homeless and alone," the gargoyle said. "Oh," said the lion, gazing coldly into the distance. Ben, who worked at the library, often leaned against the lion while he ate his sandwiches and read a book. Now and again he would laugh or sigh. "What's in the book that makes him do that?" the lion asked the gargoyle. "He's reading stories about living creatures who feel happy or sad, despairing or hopeful," said the gargoyle. If he could have, the lion would have shrugged. He had no idea what these feelings were. "I wish I was alive," he said, "but just so I could move. That's all I want." Sometimes stone animals are granted a chance to become warm, breathing creatures, said the gargoyle, but it is for a very short time only, and they must desire it greatly, with a generous heart. "I do desire it greatly," said the lion. "I do." He imagined strolling along the wide street that he saw from his pedestal. He imagined running in the green depths of the park across the road, prowling, pouncing, leaping. But he could not swish his tail, a flick or a whisker. One evening it snowed heavily. There was no one except Ben at the library. Out of the whiteness, Sarah suddenly came running. She stumbled up the steps and put a basket by the lion's paws. "I'm so tired," she said to the clouds and the wind, "so cold and hungry." She swayed, then she sank to the steps, her body limp, her eyes closed. Inside the basket was a baby with a tuft of red hair. A snowflake fell on the baby's nose. "Sarah and her brother will suffer out here in the snow," thought the lion. The baby wailed, waving a tiny fist. The lion felt a spark of pity in his chest. "Sarah and the baby will become cold and hard," he thought, "unable to walk or run or jump or feel, just like me." His heart flickered. "If I could, I would take them into the library where it is warm and safe. If only I could move." He'd never desired anything so fervently before. With a jolt he felt his heart start to beat. He shook his mane, he flexed his claws, he stretched his legs. He glanced around at the street and the park that he'd so often longed to explore. Then he leaned down and licked the snowflake off the baby's nose. It chuckled and squirmed. The lion gripped the handle of the basket in his powerful jaws. Muscles rippled as he loped towards the entrance and pushed the glass doors open. Inside the library, lights shone like the sun. It was as warm as a summer day, but it was silent, and Ben was nowhere to be seen. The lion paced down an aisle between the shelves, looking for Ben. He put down the basket and roared. Ben peered around the bookshelf. He couldn't believe his eyes. "It is you," he said with wonder. "You always did look so lifelike." He hurried to pick up the child. "It's freezing. Poor little thing." The lion gazed longingly over his shoulder at the world outside. He wanted to plunge down the steps 3 at a time. He wanted to bound along the street and run through the park. He wanted to pounce and prowl and leap. Already he could feel his joints stiffening, his sinews knotting. And there was still one more thing he had to do. He padded back outside. He seized Sarah's jacket between his teeth and gently pulled her into the library. Then he turned and dragged himself out through the door. His paws were so heavy he could hardly lift them. Crouching, he settled back on his pedestal. He would never move again. The next morning the library was full of children, their voices as bright as birds in the trees. Ben came to sit next to the lion. He whispered, "It still feels like a dream, but I know it was you who saved Sarah and her little brother." Inside his great stone body, the lion purred with contentment. From that day, children always stopped on their way to the library to stroke his mane. "He looks as cold as stone," they say, "but he feels as warm as toast." And the years that followed, a little red-haired boy often rested his cheek against the lion. "He once licked a snowflake off my nose," he told his sister. She hugged him, and they both hugged the lion. If he could have, the lion would have hugged them back. "How do you feel now?" the gargoyle asked the lion one afternoon. "I feel alive," said the lion, as Ben leaned against him and started reading aloud a story of sadness and joy, despair and hope.